Hello and welcome. My name is NJ Yosh, and today we're going to play Bellwright. Bellwright, if you've never heard of it, is a survival crafting colony sim with some RPG elements. Be the best way I could describe it. I have played it a fair bit in the past. It is still in early access. It has had some pretty good changes to it in the later half of last year. And I haven't played it too much since then, so we'll see what's new, and we're just gonna make our character real quick here. So one of the common criticisms of Bellwright is they do use AI voices for now. They do intend to have it all scripted with voiceover, but in the meantime they have AI voices. They're upfront about that, and I don't have a problem with it because they're intending to use voiceover. I'm not going to talk during the cutscene.
Isn't it funny how one small decision can have consequences that ripple through history? Or are we victims of a predetermined path? Was it chosen for you the day you visited your favorite woods on your 10th birthday? Was it destiny that the royal family were hunting there at the same time? From a tree on high, you watched as Prince Voldar and Princess Osen laughed, talked, and tracked wild animals without a care in the world. And you watched in helpless horror as a stray arrow bolted through the trees, hitting the prince in the chest like a lightning strike. Just like that, the prince was dead. And when the princess found you standing over her brother's dead body, it felt as though the gods were playing a cruel trick on you all. In the panic and confusion, you ran from the scene as fast as your legs would carry you. Fueled by rage and grief, the king demanded the head of any child who fit your description. Fearing for your life, your father asked a friend to bring you far away. Away from the king's wrath. In the middle of the night, you were taken from your home and brought away on horseback. In tears, you called out to your mother, but it was too late. Your old life was over. For years, you hid from the royal family, your resentment growing. You heard stories of your homeland, the rise and fall of a rebellion, the death of the king, and the reign of the evil Queen Osen. But on the eve of your 20th birthday, your guardian, the man who smuggled you out of Calvinia and kept you safe all these years, was brutally killed by a mysterious assassin. As he died in your arms, his hand clutched a coin with a strange sigil emblazoned upon it, a clue. Now, you have returned to your homeland for answers. Through choice or through fate, vengeance would be yours. But how will you fare in a land you no longer recognize?
So that's the backstory. Alright, so we start in here, and we will try to keep up with some of the backstory and plot and stuff. The story of the Lowlands. The Lowlands are the poorest of the 5 regions and one of the oldest. Its occupants mainly rely... Its occupants relying mainly on agriculture for their livelihood. Due to the scourge, the people are barely producing enough to sell, let alone keep for themselves. The current controlling lord, Ashbourne, is cruel and likes to raise the already high taxes above what the Queen orders to give himself a generous cut. It was once a beautiful, flourishing place. Now years of hardship are starting to show throughout the villages, some more than others. I have not had enough caffeine this morning, apparently, so apologies for that. The Carvenian Uprising. 10 years ago, tragedy struck the kingdom of Carvenia when Prince Voldar was killed by a stray arrow while hunting with his sister, Princess Osina, who pointed the blame at a young child that was in the area at the time. Fueled by his fury and grief, King Rowan ordered the execution of every child who matched the description of the one who killed his only son. In retaliation, a counter-movement was formed to protect the children of Carvenia. To ensure the safe future of the youth of their country, the rebels planned to march on the Gauntlet, Carvenia's capital, to take the king's head. However, tempted by promises of gold by the king, an unknown member of the rebellion helped set an ambush that seemingly wiped out the rebellion leaders. After the betrayal, the rebellion fell apart, and a brutal time followed as the king died and was succeeded by Queen Osina in the years following. The final death toll of the rebellion is believed to be in the hundreds. It's not the way we wanted to go. There are some scraps of paper around that explain things about the area, like this town, Herendeen, is believed to be the oldest settled village in the lowlands, but conflict was sown in its very foundation. Within years of its establishment, the settlers of Herendeen became divided on the growth of their village. Some wanted to expand north, while others wanted to stay closer to the valley. My grandmother told me stories of the early settlers, recalls Rosette O'Mary, a 101-year-old woman who spent her entire life in Herendeen. The folk here barely had enough buildings to shelter everyone, and yet they still bickered day and night about the future of the village. They decided to appoint a first elder for leadership, but those who wanted to push north sabotaged the election, and a chicken ended up as an elder. Not a figure of speech, a literal chicken. The chicken was said to be an uninspiring, indecisive leader, and a human took over the elder post a month later. Alright, so in here there's a chest with some meat, some food, and some coins and stuff, and there's these two pieces of paper. Torn piece of paper. We're fighting to save the innocents, but it's getting harder by the day. Who could have known that the butcher, with that grim name, is someone who's got a soft spot for kids? Together we're a makeshift family in this mess. But there's a talk of a rat among us. Someone is leaking our next moves, maybe even leading the king's dogs to our door. Can't trust anyone these days. And then there's my own kid, always looking at me like they know something's up. Makes my skin crawl. I'm trying to protect them, but how do you shield your own from a storm like this? Every move we make feels like a gamble, but we're in too deep to turn back. Last words of Bellwright. I am the caretaker of this bell tower, entrusted with its maintenance and protection. My duty has been to ensure that the bell atop this tower serves its purpose, to warn the people of northern descent and neighboring villages of impending danger. For years I have stood watch over this land from the heights of this tower. It has been my responsibility to keep the bell in working order, ready to ring out its warning at the first sign of trouble. But now as I pen these words, the tower lies in ruins around me, a testament to the passage of time and the neglect of our once vigilant community. I write this note in the hopes that someone will stumble upon it and learn from our mistakes. Our failure to maintain this bell tower has left us vulnerable to the dangers that now threaten to engulf us. I can only pray that whoever finds this note will take up the mantle of responsibility and restore this tower to its former glory. May this bell tower once again serve as a beacon of warning, guiding the people of the lowlands through the storms that lie ahead. Alright. So, one of the lessons I learned early on in this game, there's two things. One, stamina is always an issue. Your stamina and health are affected by the food you eat. Oh, every time you pick up a new thing, it adds its information to the codex here, like the resources and other stuff. So that's why you keep hearing that bell. So yeah, food in this game affects your stamina and health, as well as can give you other buffs. When you don't have stamina increasing food, your stamina bar is incredibly low and wears out very, very fast, and makes it a pain in the neck to move because your regular walking speed gets tedious. It used to be you didn't actually start with any food. Now it started me with an apple and some berries. The apple which just wore out. You can only eat one of a particular food, but you can have up to 3 different foods at one time. A lot like Valheim. The other thing is to manage your inventory. This is your inventory spot. Items take up spots based on their size. All of these are one size things, but there are bigger items. We are going to make... Yeah, see, an axe is 2x1. So we're going to make an axe just to have. So yeah, you don't want to pick up everything. You want to make sure you're picking up what you need at that time. So now we're going to head on to town. And as we get closer to town, you're going to notice that I can't pick up these items anymore because they belong to the nearby village. If I remember correctly, once you become part of the village, like good enough friends that you join them and go through all that, you can then, I think you can then pick up resources in the area, but that won't happen for a while yet. Alright, so let's talk to the elder after we pet the cat.
I think we need to talk, traveler. You're a new face around here, and new faces showing up rarely ends well for this village. I have a duty to my village first and foremost. I need to know who you are and why you came here.
I mean you no harm. I come to the lowlands looking for answers.
Looking for answers, huh? In a perfect world, I could give you all the information you need and you could be on your way. But speaking openly can be a death sentence these days. As long as you're asking questions, you're putting us in danger.
I must admit, I didn't expect such a frosty reception. What am I supposed to do now?
That is not my problem or Hayendine's problem. Go build yourself a shelter somewhere if you insist on staying in the lowlands. Come back when you're set up and maybe you can earn your keep.
So be it. So, the conversation choices don't seem to make a difference, at least in that conversation. Everything I've done always ends up the same way. Buildings and construction. Build your first shelter, a shack. To do so, press B, open the constructions menu, and then select shack and place it on the ground. Each construction requires resources to build it. Building a shack shouldn't be a problem for you, but later on, hired villagers will help you out with more complex constructions. You cannot build buildings too close to existing villages. Find a good spot close to all sorts of resources. Finding a good spot close to all sorts of resources is your first big decision and will affect your logistics and strategy. So, don't stress too much on where you put your first, you start building your first structures, because you do get the opportunity to have multiple villages and turn them into outposts for resources that can be traded back and forth between the villages. So, we're going to travel just a little bit out of town, stay relatively close. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and eat this since I'm not going to be able to cook it anytime soon, and that'll give me more stamina and more stamina regeneration. But yeah, we're going to travel just a little bit out of town. I have a spot in mind that's just a very simple early on spot. That grass plain down there is a very good spot for a first little town because it's nice and flat. There's a lot of flax, which you need for early on constructions. We'll be talking to this guy in a little bit. But I kind of want to be up here on this edge for my first one. Just preference. There's not really a good reason. Alright. So, personal shack. Place construction site. We're going to place this right there. So, you'll see these nodes, and each one is, for the resources. You also see this node over here that is asking for all the resources. So what you can do is you can pile all the resources up here at once, and then start construction, or you can just have it in your inventory and go straight to the nodes. That collection spot for all of it comes in more handy when you have villagers helping you build. So you can just pile resources there, and they'll work on the construction. Put that away for a sec so I can harvest these berries, because I am getting hungry. My berries were running out, and I want to keep my stamina up as much as possible right now. Alright, so we need wood, and we need flax, which is these purplish blue flowers. We also got seeds there. Farming comes in later. Grab a couple more. Wood is collected either from sticks laying on the ground or these young trees or saplings. Young trees, you need the axe. Saplings and the sticks you can just harvest by hand. Like that. Alright. I think that's enough resources at the moment. So yeah, you can just spam these all down in a pile. Show up in a pile there. And then you can start building. The other thing is, like, these initial spots were all spots for sticks. So if you had a bunch of flax in your hand, you wouldn't have... Let me put that away. If you had a bunch of flax in your inventory, you wouldn't have been able to start adding it to your building by clicking on these spots. But you can dump it into the resource stack to get it out of your inventory and free up space to gather sticks. So that's another reason for that. And then you just go around, spam these as you fill those. The next layer will show up. I do like that your early tier 1 buildings look like something you would be building without any tools. Like, this is a structure you could build by hand with an axe and some rope and just make. Alright, this is our shack. Has our bedroll, has a chest, has a bench outside to sit on. And that's about it. Now that fulfills the requirements, and then it wants us to rest. It's too early to rest, and it's kind of a waste of time. But if we come back into our building menu, you see we have unlocked more stuff. There is a tree, a tech tree, which you can see there's quite a bit to. And as you build things, you unlock stuff. So, some of it has to be researched. Actually, a lot of it has to be researched outside of this first, this first tier of stuff. But for now, we are going to build a chest. So we have some room to drop down extra materials. And we just need some more wood. And one more flax. Okay. That's going to be down here better. Yeah, we're going to build a couple of the things that, will just be helpful. Some things that were later, the follow-up to this quest is going to tell us to build. We're just going to start building it now. Just to not waste the rest of this day. You can see why this would be a pretty good place to build. We will build a farm down here, because you do need some pretty flat area for farming. But I like to build my initial bit up on this ridge. Okay. That's a chest. We're going to build a campfire right in front of our little shack. We need some more wood again. So find one of these small trees, young trees. Let's cut a couple of them, I think. So the axe is a tool. It can also be used as a weapon. And you can, even with those swings, you can cut the tree down. It's a little bit more efficient to let the prompt come up. But the swing animation is slow. So that's why it's a little bit better to let the prompt come up. The attack swing animation, I mean. Alright, that's the campfire. We are also going to build a simple workbench. Now this is a place that we use and also villagers can use. See, we can craft in it, and we can also, we don't have any villagers, so this is locked, but assign people to work on build things. We're going to build, next we're going to build a housing tent. So once we are, this will be a place for a recruited villager to stay in. I can find this. Oh, I saw a spot right there. Yeah, okay. That'll do. Alright, so flax, logs, and wood. Logs we need to get from bigger trees. This is a big enough tree that it needs to be cut up afterwards. The amount of logs you get from a tree varies. But does seem to fall pretty close to, like, how big the tree looks is going to determine how many logs it is, so. Okay. And now you can see these are much bigger. So, can only carry 2 of them at a time, and only if we don't have a lot of other stuff in our inventory. Now, I'm picking up tree seeds. I don't believe I can do anything with them until we have a forestry hut, which comes later. But then you can have villagers that will be replanting trees. Trees will grow back. Actually, I think basically all resources except maybe metals return after a time. There are also well, there is a season, there is a winter season that these plants will be, and berries and mushrooms and stuff like that will be unavailable. Oops. And winter comes in like 5 days, but also only lasts, I think, a day, maybe 2 days. So it's kind of a weird, accelerated swing between seasons. It feels a little odd, but you get over it pretty quick, I think. Alright. So let's slap this together. Now the tier 1 buildings you are just doing by hand. When you start getting into more advanced structures, you need a hammer, and the hammer animation takes a moment, so you can't just spam the dots like this. And then some of those bigger buildings take a ton of resources and have literally hundreds of points that you have to hit with the hammer, which is where your villagers come in. Using villagers to build is, I think, intended to be required. Like, I don't think they wanted you to get around not doing that. Alright, last thing we're going to build right now is this research desk. Even though we can't use this. This is only, we can assign research to be done, but we can't do research. That's something that you have to have your villagers do. So grab this log. Kind of wish it had you carrying it over your shoulder, but I can understand why they don't. See, this is a smaller tree, and then there's only 1 log. That's all we needed. Flax and wood. think that's enough wood. Did I leave myself enough room for flax? I did. There's some. My food is just about worn out. All I have left right now are berries. I should keep an eye out for some mushrooms. Mushrooms will grow in patches, like in woods or at the edge of woods. They become pretty obvious because there's the little resource dot. There'll be a ton of them together. And just grab a couple more. You can see how fast my stamina drains while running. And then it's not super quick to come back. Oh, there's mushrooms. But they have not grown yet, apparently. Or maybe they're just imaginary mushrooms and just are decorative. Oops. And that's why you want to put that away. So you don't get stuck in that swing animation. So here we can set research, but we can't research it. Each research will take resources, and it'll take a certain amount of time. Just going to go ahead and actually plop some of those in there for later. But it is now starting to get dark, so I probably can rest pretty soon to finish that quest. May just grab a bit more wood. Well, the more managing your settlements, the more powerful your settlement becomes, the more likely it is to attract raiding parties. Invest into guards and better gear to fight them back. Build outposts. Don't limit yourself to just one settlement. You may need resources that are found in other corners of the regions. That's what I was talking about before. And you can find all useful information in the town overview screen by pressing tab. Nope. Didn't mean to put that away. So. Let's grab a few more bits. I don't want to grab hemp yet because I don't have the use for it at this moment. I'm just going to grab a few more bits of wood in preparation for tomorrow. I'm also going to come in here and click on my shack and turn on waypoint. So that's going to show up now, no matter how far I am from it. Alright. So let's sleep and we'll finish this quest. So, that was the first day. I'm going to stop this here. We will pick this up again shortly. It's raining. And we'll go back to the town, talk to the elder, start recruiting villagers, and start expanding our little early settlement. But thank you for joining me. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. I'd love to hear what you think, whether you've played this game, whether you think about playing this game, or if you've seen anything I missed or should know about. So, thank you, and we'll see you next time.